What's happening, everybody? What's happening? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you. It is February the 21st. We're rocking and rolling right here in the Den, a space for men. My name is Robert Kennedy III, RK3. That's me in the house with my buddies, my dudes, my friend, Ali, Marcel, and my bro for real, Sheldon Kennedy. What's up, fellas?
What's happening?
Well,
What's
dude,
good?
what's good, man?
How's
Another
everybody
Sunday
doing,
in the
man?
den.
Yes,
Hey,
It's still morning
yes.
time.
Yeah, listen,
It's
what's
too early.
happening? Listen, it's not that early. It's not that early. Listen, I see some people on. David Hunt, what's cracking? David Hunt, how you doing? I am so
What's up,
glad that
D?
y'all are joining us this morning. If you're on with us on Facebook or on YouTube, do me a favor.
Mm-hmm.
Do your man a favor. Hold on, let me get my thing really quickly. Hold on. I got my little hold on. Here we go. Where is it? I can't find it. I should have been prepared for this.
Dang.
Yeah, I should have been prepared for this.
It's
My,
all
my
good.
little sound effect
RK3
that I do.
got
Hold
the
on.
TV studio set up over there, man.
I know, I can't find it. I just have these little.
Sound
Where
effects.
is it? Yeah, well, it's sound effects, but hold on. Now I'm all distracted looking for this, right?
Yo, son, make it
That's
with
all
your
right.
mouth.
I know. It was like a old it was like a little what was it? Like a heavy D thing. Hold on one second. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Do your man a favor.
Yeah. All right. Everybody, do me a favor. Go ahead and. You're like all of that time for that like 1 second clip.
Yo, son, come on.
All right. Anyway, yeah, do me a favor. Share this out to your friends. Share this out to your people. Share this out to your boys. Share this out to other men who you know would find value in this conversation and any other conversation that involves men. Because a lot of times we don't know. We don't know that we can have conversations with each other, or we don't
Right.
take the time to have conversations with each other. So we want to break that mold a little bit, and we want to really be vulnerable. We want to share what's happening in our world. So yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's
Good,
important,
good.
man.
Yeah.
It's
So what's
important.
happening? What's
Important.
you gentlemen? What's happening in your world? We're like in the middle of February right now. What's new in your world? This is Black History Month. What's new for you? What's happening in your world?
Man, go ahead, Shell.
This month is a pretty heavy month.
Mhm.
For producing purposes. Just have a lot of shows that I'm working on this month, so it's been pretty heavy. So this week may be sleepless. This week may be sleepless, but
Yeah.
at the end of it, it's going to be real well. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
That's good, man. That's good. For
Yeah.
me, it's kind of business as usual for me, as it relates to what I'm doing. We're getting ready for a group coaching experience that's starting in March, and so just kind of prepping for that, and um, doing some podcast interviews this month, and just trying to build some content. So
Hmm.
it's kind of you know for me, it's kind of par for the course a little bit, except for the group coaching thing, which is a new experience for us right now. So
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the group coaching stuff, man. I mean, I know you and your wife, for those of you that have not visited them yet, right under his name, you should see it, denali.org. You and your wife have a marriage coaching experience or company that you operate. Tell us a little bit about the group coaching experience.
yeah, so that's birthed out of the Between the Sheets marriage forum that happened on January 30th, and so this is a 6 week uh, experience where we're going to do a little bit deeper dive into intimacy, into healing from the trauma that tends to inhibit,
Hmm.
intimacy. And we have four coaches coming in: Dr. D Knight, Meg Cohen out of New Zealand, Monica Tanner out of Iowa, and Nick and Adina Johnson out of Florida. They'll be doing a week each, and then we'll
Hmm.
be doing 2 weeks as well. And so we're just going to be doing a deep dive, man. We have some couples who signed up for the experience, and we're going to take them through, starting with the foundation, which is, when we talk about physical intimacy, often we go immediately to sex, but there are other components of physical intimacy that have nothing to do with, well, not nothing to do, but that are not the sexual experience itself.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be talking about some foundational things as it relates to 5 different types of intimacy, and then we're going to walk them through with the other coaches with some things. And so far it's been good. We've been sending out some supplemental material just to lead up to when this thing starts on March 6th. And so just looking forward to that. It's a new experience for us because normally we're one-on-one.
Yeah.
So we have some one-on-one clients, obviously, but to do the group piece is a new experience. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. So um, Sheldon works in the production, online production space. Oliver and his wife work in the marriage counseling space or marriage coaching space, and I work in the presentation, public speaking, technology space as well. So we all have these different things that we're doing, and as men, um, what when you celebrate, or when February comes around, Black History Month comes around, what do you feel? What are the things that are going on in your space, in your mind? Do you feel different? Is it just another month? What are you thinking about when Black History Month comes around?
To be quite honest,
Yeah.
I, I I always get this notion that there are individuals who would not normally be considering certain topics and would not normally be quote unquote sympathetic to certain causes, and certain things tend to kind of appear,
Yeah.
you know. And I know that's not necessarily where we're going, but that's often the first thought that I have. Like, okay, were you thinking about this all year long? And I don't want to call anybody out, but certain individuals that I'm connected with
Hmm.
typically all year long. Now, we're looking at, okay, what can we do? What can we post? What types of conversations can we have? And I'm like, can't we do that all year long? Like, and so a lot of times that's the first thing I'm thinking, man. It's like, okay, now, it's spotlight time, even though this should be, an ongoing thought.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What's up,
You
Shell?
know,
How about you, man?
I'm similar to Ali, man. To be honest with you, so I'm Black every day. So
Right.
some of the issue that I see, and I look at certain content that's being posted, just like Ali just said, and it strikes me disingenuous. You know what I mean? Because it, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I look at that from whether you are Black or if you are anything else. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I think that sometimes we do ourselves a greater disservice by really being hyper focused on these 28 or 29 days. I remember years ago, I wrote this poem about feeling that, why am I celebrating 28 or 29 days when I should be celebrating 365, 366, right?
Wow.
Because this is who I am. This is my culture. This is who we are. So for me to February 1st, post a Martin Luther King quote. February 2nd, post a picture of me with Frederick Douglass. To me, I don't necessarily think it's wrong. I just feel like I should be able to post that same thing on
Hmm.
April the 1st, January the 1st, June. You know what I mean? It does not make a difference to me. You know what I mean? So I may be wrong. If I'm grateful that it gets highlighted, because I remember growing up, uh, February said, "All right, I'm the Black student in class." So the teacher's like, "All right, Sheldon, how do you feel?" Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like I did yesterday.
Yeah.
You ain't like me yesterday. So what happened today?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I hear that, and I like that. I think one of the things that as we feel that, I guess the question that comes to me is what's my role, or what's my responsibility? What should I do? And that's kind of why I asked the question, even in the lead up to this, what does Black history mean for all men, not just men who are, who happen to be melanated, who were born that way, right? What does it mean for all men? Because change doesn't happen. Stuff doesn't just automatically transform unless somebody agitates, unless somebody says something different. So, I mean, as you guys are feeling this, as you're thinking this, what are some things that we can do differently to help people realize, listen, this is, somebody gave us prime time for 28 days, but what can we do to really bring things to another space on the other 339 or whatever days of the year?
I think conversation, man, and I think conversation has started to bubble up more because of
Uh-huh.
the racial tensions that we've seen come to center stage over the last couple years. Conversations are beginning to happen, and individuals who weren't uh, cognizant, if you will, of the fact that these conversations are paramount to moving us further as a people are now realizing that. And so I think it's
Hmm.
time to capitalize on those opportunities to have those conversations, which can then lend themselves to a greater enlightenment, to education, to allowing folk to kind of see into each other's souls, so to speak, and maybe we can begin to move the needle in a way that maybe it hasn't been moved before, because some of those conversations just weren't happening. People were kind of staying in their respective corners and and not having to touch an issue unless it just hit them in the face.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to bring Kirk's comment to life, to the front here. He says,
Yeah.
having lived in Africa for a few years, I think the focus in February is super relevant, because even in Black communities, we generally don't know our history, and that is even more pronounced outside of Black communities. Yeah. So
I can understand that. I can.
yeah.
I can agree with the fact that it needs to be heightened, because, like I said,
Mhm.
growing up, that was the only time that Black history was talked about, right?
Right.
Like, for the rest of the time, you talking about the greatness of George Washington, you talking about the greatness of all these other historical figures. But it was until it was in February that we learned about Martin Luther King. But Hegel's the problem with all of that.
Hmm.
Um, it wasn't till I got older that I started digging into a lot of the other areas, and I was like, yo, what did we, because I feel like there's a standard 28 that we're able to talk about, right? And it may
Yeah.
not be, it may be like a standard 5. You know what I'm saying? Martin Luther King,
Mhm.
Frederick Douglass, Malcolm X. And Malcolm X was talked about in a way that was,
He was like
he was a rebel.
he was the rebel.
Mhm.
Yeah, he was the hard.
He-
Every time, remember when we were kids, the pictures that we saw of Malcolm were the by any means necessary with the gun at the window.
always,
That's the
always,
one
Mhm.
that we saw.
always. Right.
Yeah.
So my point is, there are a select few that we're able to talk about. It's unfortunate that when I was in my 20s when I started to learn a lot about these other historical figures. Because the first one we learned about, I'm gonna be honest with you, the first one that we learned about in school was Crispus Attucks.
Mm,
Right?
yeah.
We learned about Crispus Attucks because here's the Black guy that ran to the front and sacrificed his life at the beginning of this war. You know what I mean? So it was like a glowing representation. But I learned about Marcus Garvey in passing. I learned about
Yeah.
Marcus Garvey later as I studied.
Yeah.
Right? I learned about Catherine Goebel Johnson later as I studied. But these are historical figures, right? You
Yeah.
know, even me as a writer, I had to learn about August Wilson later.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And even though he's
Very
not a
true.
historical figure to many, he's a historical figure to me.
Mhm.
Right? So, it requires it. There's no way that 28 days can really do the service to the history of the Black culture. So I get what Kirk is saying, because you're highlighting things, but again, we're gonna highlight the people who the world wants you to highlight. So it's going to be, again, MLK because he worked with JFK. It's going to be these other individuals. We're going to highlight a couple sports figures, right? So you're going to see Michael Jordan. I promise you, LeBron James is going to be in there, because these are the glowing figures.
Right. So what's our responsibility though? Because I mean, I think I get what Kirk is saying about highlighting stuff.
Definitely do. Definitely.
And it being a month that kind of brings awareness to stuff. But as men of a community, as men overall, what's our responsibility for change? What are some of the things that we can do? Because we have these thoughts. We think that 28 days is not enough. We think that, we remember, when I was growing up, this is how my identity or who I am was situated or was taught to me. So then now that I recognize that, the deal, right? Once you get greater awareness, you now have greater responsibility. So what's our responsibility, and what are some of the things that we can do? And when I think about responsibility and what we can do, I'm thinking even greater in the scope of all men. What are the things that we can do with our world in general, but with men who don't look like us, to help create that awareness outside of February? What do we do? What are some things that we can do?
Man, that's for me. I think I've kind of narrowed it to. That's probably not the best word, but I'm looking at the relationships that I have, like personal relationships, and what am I doing because to speak to what Sheldon said, right? It only happened in a couple of days. Sheldon's the Black kid in the classroom. Now everybody wants to know how he feels. And I think what it does for us, right, it kind of makes us kind of step back a little bit and not necessarily want to push or to initiate those types of conversations, because we don't want to be looked at like, okay, here comes this dude causing trouble. But I'm starting to realize now that, hey, I have the right to interject. I have the right to stand up for myself, my beliefs, the things that historically have made me who I am in these personal relationships that I have with individuals that are of different ethnicities. And so I've been kind of starting there, right? And so in times where maybe normally I would not have said anything, or I would not have given my perspective from an African American context, I'm beginning to do those things now. So in meetings, hey, we're trying to do this particular thing. And normally I'd be like, yeah, okay, just let them do whatever they're going to do. But now I'm like, hey, think about it this way, because there's certain segments of the population, from the African American perspective, from the Latino perspective, we need to be thinking about the user experience from these perspectives. And now I'm saying that more, and they're expecting now to hear my perspective. And so I've been starting
there. Nice.
And Ali's definitely right. One of the things that I honestly am grateful for is for my wife, right? Because, unapologetic, she's unapologetic in how much she pushes for our children to learn about our history, right? And it's not only from African American history. She's also, hold on one second. She's also very clear in that she wants us to know about Ghanaian history, because that's where her family's from. She wants us to know about Jamaican history because that's where our family is from, Bobby. And so it's not only in February that we're talking about this. We're also talking about this in March. So every time we go to the library, she picks up books She picks up books for the boys and she makes them read different things. And why I'm starting there is because I think that's where we start as men. I have two boys. I have two boys. So for me, it starts at home base. If I can teach these two the history, I think that's very important. I think that's very important because that was where the struggle was. It's not that my parents did teach us. You know, my dad, did dad write the book From Martin to Malcolm when we were little?
I don't remember.
That was one of his huge studies.
Yeah.
He was always studying about those dudes, but he studied about a lot of different things. And I think that helped. So yeah. I think a lot of the issue is that a lot of us are not studying about our history. Yeah. We're only taking what the information that is given to us at face value. But I think I can't blame anybody else for what we don't do.
Right.
True.
Right.
Cannot do.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've got to recognize as well is, I mean, we kind of accept being lumped in a certain space. So it's okay that we talk about LeBron. It's okay that we talk about Michael Jordan. It's okay that we talk about Michael Jackson. It's okay that we talk about Prince. It's okay that we talk about people who are athletes and in the creative space or the movie or the Hollywood industry space. But some of the other things where it was limited to certain people, we ourselves don't talk about as much. I mean, I was a full grown man. Right? I was a full grown man before I knew that Garrett Morgan invented the stoplight.
Yep.
Right. We heard about George Washington Carver and the peanut butter experiments or the peanut experiments as a kid. But as far as other spaces, sciences, we didn't know about Hidden Figures until a few years ago.
Yep.
Right. We didn't know about those ladies. So what is our responsibility? I know that for me personally, I'm not doing enough. Right. I know that I may need to take on to myself. OK, you know what? Monthly, I'm going to highlight someone. And this is not only in February. This is in, so Donnell is saying find groups like Schomburg Center and Mahogany Books to learn more. I love it. Kirk says, as men, we need to take ownership for what we know and don't know, and the knowledge we impart to those in our sphere of influence. So, so how much do I know and how much can I take the initiative to share that with the people that I'm around? Because, sometimes it's not that people are bad, malicious, or intend to freeze you out.
No.
They just have not been agitated or shown that the way that they're thinking, operating, feeling is limited and excludes a certain group of people. I mean, and we've got courses, as a trainer, I see these all the time. We've got sessions, workshops right now. Unconscious or implicit bias is like this big thing. We didn't hear about unconscious or implicit bias training, or we didn't even know those words like 15 years ago. Right?
Yeah.
So what's my role or what's my responsibility as a man to really to really help change mindsets outside of the month of February?
Can I point out something to you, man?
Yeah.
You said something real deep, and I want to kind of jump on it. And I hope this kind of puts a different spin on it a little bit. I even think that the information we know about Black history is incomplete about certain individuals. As an example, growing up, the statement was Benjamin Banneker designed Washington, D.C.
Oh.
It was, I read the story a few years ago. The statement on its face is true. But when you unpack it, he was the apprentice to the person who designed Washington, D.C. The the designs got destroyed and the person went away, right? What ended up happening was he remembered it cold from seeing it.
Wow.
And redrew it. It's not that he didn't design it, but he put all that information in his head because now the original designer was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it was on Benjamin Banneker to redraw it based upon his memory of what he saw because he was the apprentice.
Yeah.
Right. So the unpacking. There was a radio guy. I can't remember his name now, but his sign off was, and this is the rest of the story.
Oh,
right?
It was Harvey.
Yes. Paul Harvey.
Paul Harvey.
Paul Harvey.
Yeah.
So so why do I bring that up? There's so much rest of the story. There's so much rest of the story. And for Bobby's a storyteller. Part of my life is that I need to know the rest of the story. When I'm writing, I need to give the rest of the story. I'm gonna take a quick turn and I'm coming right back.
Yeah.
I was writing something for an Easter program the other day, and part of the writing was about the argument of the disciples. Now, as you know, when Luke talks about it, it's different if he talks about it. Matthew doesn't even talk about it in the upper room, whereas Luke may, right? So when I was writing, I was like, what's missing? What's missing? So I dug into what is the rest of the story? What is the rest of the story? What transpired before? What transpired after? And that is the research that sometimes we struggle with.
Right.
We basically take it at face value and just leave it there. But for my children, for those who want to really know, you got to dig into these things so we're not left with these huge gaps about our history, because we are what is going to give that information to the next generation. We can't allow for swaths of our legacy to be gone.
Yeah.
And that's not only from the historical perspective, that's from a familial legacy perspective. We drop a lot of it because we just don't give it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So
wrap this session for us, Ali. We got another about maybe minute or so on this section of things. I want to jump to something else, and Kirk really made a good statement that's going to transition us there. But let me pop Hugh's comment on here. Hugh says there's so much story history that's been pushed into our face that we just accept and don't do the research for. Similar to listening to a sermon and agreeing to what is said without searching for ourselves in the scripture. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. And that's a beautiful way to wrap it, man. It really comes down to, as our responsibility is to educate ourselves, right? And like Sheldon said, pass that education on to the immediate next generation, right?
Yeah.
And so, like with my son, he's digging into some stuff about the Black Panthers, which was kind of bubbled up out of this Fred Hampton story that's out now. So just being able to take those opportunities to me educate myself, because yes, I am as guilty as many for taking several things at face value without digging deeper below the surface to really get the backstory and dig. And so that is our responsibility. In order for us to be able to move the needle in any degree, we have to be armed with the educational components of this thing that we need to help back us up. So I agree with that.
Love it. All right. So I want to hop to Kirk's comment here. It says, as men, we need to ensure our daughters see themselves in society and that the world is theirs. Fathers have a huge responsibility to shape the next generation of women. And I think that is a really apt segue to our next statement here. So the month of February, right? Speaking of women, the month of February also, in addition to it being Black History Month, has this other holiday.
Lord.
What's that red thing behind you, Ali?
It's a heart.
Yeah. So in the month of February, we've got this other holiday, which is Valentine's Day, right? Which is, I mean, let's be honest, it's really seen as a holiday for the ladies, right? It's really seen as this day for the women. It's, I mean, yeah, sometimes, yeah, women buy men stuff in February, but let's be real, fellas. I mean, how do you feel? Give me the real from your man's mind about Valentine's Day. Well, what's don't give me the soft answer. What do you think about Valentine's Day?
Man, listen, Valentine's Day is it's that day where hey, listen, I'm gonna put in a little bit of extra effort, and that we want that effort, whatever that effort is, whether it be you got to know your wife, so whatever your significant other, whatever that
Yeah.
effort is, if it's gonna be the flowers, if it's gonna be the candy, if it's gonna be whatever it is, and we're looking for some ROI as it relates to that effort. At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? The day needs to end a certain way for the day to be successful. You know what I mean?
Ali just killed me just now, B. So, Valentine's Day is a tough one for me. And I guess, I'm with David. Like, relative to keep force in business. Like, real talk. Like, these doing edible arrangements. These dudes is in your pocket, son. but interestingly enough, I just happen to marry a person who kind of thinks similar to me. Why? And it's similar to my focus on Black history. Why am I waiting to this one day to profess a love that I have so much time to do? But one of the things, it was interesting. This year we woke up to, check this out, yeah. This year, I don't know what my boys have been watching. Let me start there. I have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. Let me praise God. They've been watching me. And every Sunday morning, I make food with them. And, I make pancakes, eggs, turkey bacon, whatever the case may be with them. Well, this year, I woke up on Sunday morning like I normally do, but I heard downstairs like hustling and bustling. I heard like all the things being thrown all over the place. Well, I go downstairs. These two are making my wife and I breakfast for Valentine's Day.
Wow.
It was crazy. Now, first and foremost, Ali, let me explain something to you. These dudes have never been in the kitchen by themselves. So this was like I was like, Lord, thank you first and foremost that the house is still here. Because they did this while I was asleep. But they took it on themselves to basically say, Mommy and Daddy, we love you, right? And we totally appreciated it. It was less about it being Valentine's Day for me in that moment than the fact that they understood that there's this concept of you have to show love in your home, right? And I did not want, I didn't want to take away their Valentine's. I didn't want to take away their Valentine's feeling, but I'm just grateful that it coincided with the day. But they were like, Mommy and Daddy, happy Valentine's Day. Bam. Here goes your waffles. I took Pepto-Bismol before I ate it. So y'all know I'm still here. I'm still good, still grooving. But, so my sentiments on Valentine's Day, again, there's certain people that need the boost.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm kind of like,
that's true.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, for me, Valentine's Day is like, if my wife never said something to me on Valentine's Day, I'd still be good, right? I'd still be cool, right? Yeah. So to be honest, I mean, it feels to me like Valentine's Day is this thing. It's for women, and that's what it feels like. And I'm if people want to come for me for saying that, then yeah, so be it.
I gotta admit though, man.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, even though I said what I said in the beginning, thankfully, my wife is not one of those people who expects me to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how grateful I am for that. And it's not because I don't want to do anything. It's just like she is the first person that I've met that in my dating life, just all the way through my life. She's the first person I met who was just not a big flower person. Like,
wow.
That's just not her. Like there's a certain flower she likes, and so every once in a while I make sure that she gets those, but she's not that person who has to have balloons and roses and candy and all of this stuff on Valentine's Day. She just wants to spend time. So and Valentine's Day always kind of falls close to it's my son's birthday is 4 days before. And this year he turned 18. So on Valentine's Day, we actually spent time with him. And so I'm grateful for that it's not because for some people, man, you said it, Sheldon. Some people need that boost, and for a lot of people that boost is required.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is
requirement.
It is.
Go ahead, Sheldon.
No, that is the hardest thing, man. Because I see dudes coming with the 75-pound teddy bear, the bucket of chocolates, and I'm like, dude, what did you do? Did you throw her dog in the toilet? What is going on? Like, no, I really have to go through these moments of trying to figure out what made you want to spend $500, $600 of money that you didn't have.
Right.
No, notice what I said.
Yeah.
I said money that you didn't have. That was not earmarked for this.
So let me ask you that question. Why is it that it takes that day? I mean, what is it about that day that makes us feel that we have to do things a certain way or go above and beyond? I'm looking at Leslie's comment. Leslie's like, we did nothing. Sometime in the afternoon, we're both like, oh yeah, happy Valentine's Day. Right?
So again, to answer your question, V. Fine. Go ahead, Kevin. I'm game.
Yeah. That's probably a good segment. Yep.
It is.
Yeah.
So check this, man. Just like with Black histories, the information that we are given from early on is that there's a white baby with a bow and arrow that comes around once a year.
Wow.
That's going to input love into your relationship. We put that out on TV. We put that out everywhere. We market Valentine's Day like it's better than your anniversary. We market Valentine's Day like it's better than, so this is the day that you got to really come out your pocket. Because look, edible arrangements is to send you, they don't send me emails any other time of year or text messages. These dudes find my number in they text message vault and they sending me a 25% off coupon.
Yeah.
Off of deals, everything over $100. So that's where you start, right? But I think since we've always, and another part, I think only red roses grow in February. That's what I've come down to, right? Because you go to the supermarket in February, the red roses section is mad full.
Yep.
They're not there the rest of the year?
Nope. So it's marketing, but let me ask you this, and what I want to ask, and maybe switch to a little bit is, so my wife put me onto this this article the other day. I guess she saw something where Russell Wilson, and I guess he does this a lot. For those of you who don't know, Russell Wilson's a football player, and he's married to Ciara, who is a singer, right? Pretty famous singer. And Russell Wilson must have been writing a love note or something to Ciara that he's pretty sappy. And a lot of people, a lot of men came for Russell, and they used this word that I didn't really know. I heard it before, but I didn't know it was like a slang word. They said they called Russell a simp. Right. And so my wife was telling me about that. My kids or my boys, she said, yeah, you should ask them what simping is, or what a simp is. And what it is ultimately, for those of you who want to use like the Urban Dictionary or whatever to look that up, ultimately what a simp is, it's usually a man or a guy, a male, that does soft, mushy, fluffy things, says really nice, squishy things for his girl, about his girl, and other guys come for him for that reason. Some back in the day we used to say that, that, I don't know, they were sprung, or your nose was wide open, or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
But they're like simps, so it's become a verb, right? So if the boys are going out and you decide that you're gonna do something with your girlfriend instead, he was like, yeah, he's simping us, right? So I guess what I'm asking here is, from an early age, we're even on a sneaky level taught that to be compassionate, to be nice, to be caring for a woman or a girl is somehow less, on a lower level of manhood. It's kind of like weakness. I mean, what are your thoughts about the people talking about Russell Wilson, or about this whole, what I just mentioned?
Yeah.
It's interesting, man, how that has happened over the years, right? Just, you think about the things that we're not supposed to do, quote unquote, as men, right? There's a certain level of emotion we're not supposed to show. There's a certain level of like I'm not like, you're not gonna make me play myself, basically.
Right.
Like, I'm not doing that. So I'm not gonna be out there, on one knee and bringing you to single rows, and like, yeah, you're not having me out here, looking crazy. So
Right.
and it
Right.
has shaped the way that we approach uh, that level of vulnerability in our relationships. And just to see, man, that now that there's a phrase, there's actually a
Mm-hmm.
word now for doing too much.
Yeah.
It just, what I'm saying, it speaks to, what I mean, it just speaks to where things are going, man, and it's making it tough for our sons,
Yeah.
as they come up, because thankfully they have the counteraction of watching how we operate with our wives,
Mm-hmm.
but then they have all of that happening, in media and in popular culture, that is saying the exact opposite.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That's unfortunate.
let me ask you this, Ali, and it's not coming for your statement exactly earlier, but really kind of using that as a basis for what we're thinking as well. So it's kind of okay to be mushy. It's okay to be caring. It's okay to be compassionate if there's a payoff at the end, right? And let's go back to ROI for a second. If there's some ROI, right? It's not weak. It's not
Right.
it's not like unmanly if you get it, right? If you get
Right.
what the desired result was. But if there's no payoff,
Now it's the
then
investment. It's an
ooh,
investment. I'm not out here playing myself. I'm investing. Men are supposed to invest. We're
Right.
supposed to do that. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
business. And so and
So
that's how we look at it. It becomes a business transaction for a lot of us. And so, to speak to what Sheldon was saying, that this needs to be an ongoing thing for many of us, we can't incorporate that into the fabric of our lives because we're not looking at it from an emotional standpoint. It's a
Right.
business standpoint. And once business is conducted and done,
wow,
we good
wow,
until the next transaction needs to happen.
Yeah, it's man, Ali. Goodness, there's no way to really cover that statement is kind of it's amazing because when you start looking at it from perspective, you kind of feel seedy. I
Wow.
mean, you just like what was my intention in the first place?
Wow.
What was my
Wow.
intention in the first place? What did I do this only to get this?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it does put a shameful spin on how we may approach going back to where you're going for your conference, Ali,
Yeah.
intimacy,
Mm.
right? Because um, full disclosure, and I think I'm grateful for this space because space for men, right?
Yeah.
When I first got married, I think my perspective on this area was a lot different than my 15 years now,
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
right? When I first came in, it was like, yo, it was like you had a bullet list, right? I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this, and then you're not going to
Right.
return on my investment of cooking, cleaning, and all that stuff. You know
Right.
what? I'm gonna take so to what Ali's saying. That's a mindset that needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's that So because I think Valentine's Day kind of puts that out there. Like this is a large scale investment for the day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Yeah.
at the end of the day I'm not getting my receipt,
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's ultimately what you're saying is that the way the marketing works, the way that men are taught, we're like, weakness is okay as long as it's transactional, right? It's not if there's no payoff at the end, then we gotta be raw, raw, pull him by the hair, drag him across the field,
right,
caveman styles.
right.
So yeah, I mean, so how do we then, man? How do we counteract that? How do we change that frame or that mindset? Do we operate differently within Valentine's Day or any of these scenarios? What are the things that we need to be able to do in order to counteract that feeling of equating weakness with transactional love?
Man, I think it goes to what Sheldon just said, man. That it's a mindset shift, right?
It is.
It's a mindset shift, and it's
It is.
something that I think we have to on both sides. We have to find
Mm-hmm.
folk that we can be accountable to,
Mm-hmm.
that we can observe, and then in turn, just like with the Black History situation, Sheldon said this too, and also now model that for the folk that are coming behind us, and
Absolutely.
begin to try to just chip away little by little, with
Yeah.
that each one teach one type of thing, showing them the mentality that you
Mm-hmm.
should be operating from.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is it too much? Is it too much? I think one of the maybe the struggles that I think I had it previously, I don't know if that I have it so much anymore, is that when we mindsets are created not by these big brazen events, right? They're created by these little seeds that are
Mm-hmm.
dropped in all the time. So even when we make jokes, there's like a language that sometimes I'll hear my kids use, and you fight the struggle as a father. Should I be picky about calling them out on that, or that's just like, kids being kids? It's and they'll grow out of it. So if I hear my son using the term simp or talking about one of his boys was simping or whatever, should I be calling my son out on that? Should I be immediate in retracting that behavior? How serious should I be about speaking against those types of things, even if it's in a joking scenario?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I think every father, I think, has to make that determination based on their knowing their son, right? So you
Hmm.
may know, hey, your son is joking around, but I've instilled enough in him for him to know, hey, that at some point this is not like long-term behavioral type stuff.
Yeah.
You got to you kind of know when you need to kick in, like, because they may joke about somebody else, but then their behavior may align with your value system, right?
Mm.
And so then it's just you're like, okay, he's joking his boy or whatever. But when you see that their behaviors are not aligning, I think then that's it that determines your
Mm.
level of engagement as it relates to that. I think for me, for my own personal experience, I often take opportunities like that, not necessarily to come down on Justin, but just to be like, um, to ask him his perspective. So I may
Mm.
not even say to him, "Hey, this is not how things are done." I may just ask him, what's your guy doing that's making you say that? And then
Right.
that may open the door for me to have a conversation.
Yeah.
My boys are younger, but I think this is there's some parts of it that I don't have to battle as yet, Ali.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
what I do know, there are parts of their vernacular right now that I am paying very much that I'm paying a lot of attention to. Um, and the way that they go about things. But I
Hmm.
think um, there's when my kids are in that trying to find out who they are perspective. They are in that what levels, how far now to see how much what my parents will say stage. So I don't know. I don't have an answer as yet. Let
Hmm.
me start there. I think they're following me. They're following
Yeah.
me. They're following the way that I speak. They're following the way that I speak. Yeah, it's the craziest thing, man.
Yeah.
And I said this to somebody yesterday. They're, my oldest one is following me more than I know,
Yeah.
more than I
Yeah.
know, and it's so when I'm doing like sometimes I do virtual productions for a lot of people, and um, sometimes he happens to be in the he gets an invite to the same production. And whenever I'm doing virtual productions, a lot of time I'll change my name to the name of the event slash leader or support.
Right.
Well, what he does is he'll come into the same place. He changes his name to whatever name the event is, supports son. So as an example, I'll do
Yeah.
ministry leader, right? And then he'll come in and do ministry leader's son. He can be on Facebook he can be on YouTube. He'll change his name from so you see my website, Kinetic Concepts. He'll put Kinetic Concepts son.
Right.
What does that mean? Well, I did not I don't realize how much of me he's trying to copy. That
Mm.
means that I have to be even that much more responsible with my words, my actions, because this kid is looking at what I am doing.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
I'm loose and reckless with it, he's going to be loose and reckless with it.
Yeah. So I think I asked that question, but there was also some stuff that I was processing in my mind, even further than
Mm,
what we say to our sons. So I'm
right.
thinking from a greater society perspective. For example, when I was younger, we used to watch Def Comedy Jam, right?
Exactly.
And so that was the place where the urban
Yeah.
comedy was
Yeah.
edgy urban comedy happened,
Was
right?
birth. Yeah.
But we also, as I think back on it, there was a lot of black people are this way, white people are this way, right? And so the more that in our language we utilize, even if it's just like something simple, and even if it's in a
Culture.
joking manner, right? we kind of we seed the atmosphere of things, and we perpetuate things by continuing, even in a joking manner, to use our language in a certain way, right? And so I think I bring that up just to encourage all of us to be even more intentional with our language, right? We're having this conversation as men about weakness because of language. We're having this conversation because as a kid, I was told, I was about 8 or 9 years old, that something upset me. And tears started to come down my cheeks. And a man in our church told me that boys don't cry. And I wiped my cheeks and I didn't cry anymore about anything else. Right? Because men aren't supposed to cry. So language is like these little seeds that bear fruit, and sometimes the fruit is rotten, right? Right, but it still bears fruit, and we don't have control over it once we plant the seed, because especially where human beings are concerned, all ground is fertile ground. Right. It's not like you throw a seed and it hits the concrete or it hits the rock and nothing else ever happens to it. Where human beings are concerned, where our emotions are concerned, where our hearts are concerned, where our minds, our brains are concerned, all ground is fertile ground. So we're constantly planting these seeds with our language. And so as a man now, how intentional do I need to be about the seeds that I'm planting?
That's messed up, me, to leave it like that, man.
Yeah. Well, listen. We're right. This is really good timing. So we're right at the end here. Listen, y'all, we're gonna be doing this thing again. We're doing this, The Den, a space for men, every month, the third Sunday of every month. We want y'all to share this out. If you thought that today's conversation was valuable, if you thought today's conversation was amazing, make sure that you share this. We're going to be back on March 21st, 9 a.m. I'm not sure what the topic's going to be yet, but we're probably going to have a guest or two with us just to chop it up a little bit and bring greater perspective to what it means to be a man. Ali, Shell, any closing words?
Man, I think you did it. You said it, man. There's a level of intentionality that has to take place as it relates to both topics. We have to be intentional about educating ourselves and passing on that knowledge in both the Black history area and as it relates to relationships and the misconceptions that have been handed down to us as it relates to how vulnerable we can be as men, and how intentional we should be about building and maintaining intimacy. So good stuff.
Yeah. We were talking about Valentine's Day, and Hugh was up, but then we got serious, and he was like, my countenance has fallen. Awesome, man. Yeah, wrap us up, Shell. Take us out.
Very simple, man. Vulnerability is not weakness.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is not weakness. That's all I got to say.
Love it. Yeah. Listen, y'all, we are, as I said, we're doing this every month. We believe that men need to have these conversations even more frequently. We need to be more intentional about this conversation, about these conversations. And we wanted just to provide a space to have these conversations. We definitely welcome your thoughts. We definitely welcome your questions. If you have any other topics that you say, man, we don't really talk about this enough as men, and you want us to hit up that topic in one of our upcoming shows, feel free to write those comments, put that underneath this episode, and we'll take a look at some of those questions in the upcoming episodes. All right. So Hugh, David, Yvonne, Sherv, Donnell, or Kevin, who else? David, Leslie, all
Kirk.
these people, Sean, Kirk. Yeah, Tabitha, how you doing? Who else is on there? Sean, did I say Sean already? Yeah, I did. All right, listen, we've had quite a few people on. It's been amazing. Thanks so much for hanging out with RK3, Ali M, Kinetic Concept, Sheldon K. This has been The Den, a space for men. See see y'all.
For real though.
Peace.
Word.